Welcome, you're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. Debunking fake news is a crucial skill in the world of post-truth. And this is the main idea behind StopFake project. The Ukrainian team who launched the program over 4 years ago first set out to counter false Russian media reports, but have expanded their operations to raise awareness of Russia's undeclared information warfare campaign worldwide. To talk more about the project and the most recent fakes debunked, we welcome in our studio today Margo Gontar. She is the co-founder of StopFake.org project. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for inviting.
So let's talk about the recent fakes that Russia produces all over the world right now. Let's start with Cholera in Azov Sea.
Right, this is one of, I'd say, the classic narratives they try to pursue to try to show Ukraine as being a dangerous state to its neighbors. And this is precisely one of such stories. So basically, the whole narrative goes as if there is cholera, dangerous cholera bacteria in Azov Sea, and not only like this, but in some titles, in some media, it goes as if Ukraine did it itself, on purpose, and basically the very. But the facts, what we have, shows that all the organizations, including the worldwide organization of healthcare, they actually state that there is no evidences. They did their own research. What is ironic to me is they did this research because Russia's side asked them. So basically, even to answering the Russia side, they told there is no dangerous bacteria in the Azov Sea as of the state of this year. And also they also told that Ukraine is doing its best to make sure everything is safe, and all the other facts state precisely that. And the only thing what Russia was quoting was basically just someone with no name from the administration of the city of Mariupol. So they didn't even give the credible source, I'd say, because, you know, everyone can be that someone who actually says there is a problem.
Absolutely. What about the fake about President Poroshenko allowing lumber smuggling to the EU? Right.
There's also, like, basically continuing story. So the other narrative of Kremlin propaganda is to show that authorities of Ukraine are not caring for the country, and that the country is falling apart and they're just stealing everything. And this concrete example is basically manipulative in the title and everywhere, because what Poroshenko did, he basically put veto on the project of the law to put it back in and just to change one part of it, because this part, and it was just about one small part of the law project, and it was conflicting with our responsibilities of Ukraine, responsibilities to European Union and to the world trade, and so it goes just that it should be changed. So the whole project of the law will not be conflicting. So basically, and this is what I think is the most important to say here, is that this is one of the standard procedures, actually, how the work on projects of the law goes on. So just they bring the project of the law, then president just puts his comments, and then it being brought back to discuss on the new changes. So that's the very, very normal work of
traditional procedure.
Pretty common, I would say.
All right. Could you comment on the fact how Russian media highlighted the anniversary of baptism of the Kievan Rus?
This is pretty much my favorite, I think. We have a long read on this, but I would say the most if to, you know, to put the highlights, highlights. So it would be that Russia standardly tries to show that those who support the Moscow Orthodox Moscow Patriarchy as, you know, the right people, and those who are part of Kiev Patriarchy are like rebels and non being recognized by the worldwide community, while actually at the moment there are processes of well, basically only processes, but to give what's called Tomos to Ukrainian church. So I mean, like, to actually recognize it. And also they try to show that Ukrainian people are not supportive of like like the Ukrainian church itself, but actually the stats we have are telling otherwise, and they say the majority is pro this. And also they try to show that the numbers of those who were on this, let's say, march to support Moscow Patriarchy were like just outrageous. They told like 250,000, while actually the first media who wrote about this told about 10,000, and they drastically changed it to 250,000.
Now that's a real rise.
Yeah, well, actually, I think the numbers with which Ukrainian authorities give, that march was about like 20,000, I think, while those who supported Ukrainian Patriarchy, the march of these people was about like 65,000, so which is like 3 times more if we to believe these numbers. And even other than this, so they try to show that Ukrainian, I don't know, like security services just taming everyone and not letting in, even though it was just a regular check of the buses. So all these things trying to show, I think even my favorite one will be that they tried to show that people who went on this Moscow Patriarchy march, they were understanding their like standing up against Ukrainian government. So it was so so revolutionary kind of wise, which I think do not apply to these people who went there. But still, I mean, creating this kind of picture and also telling, for example, that Constantinople representatives were also like wanting to take part in this march, even though they actually told that they are taking part in the events in Kiev, not in Moscow, because it's weird to be part of events in Moscow. What happened in Kiev in 10th century. So we have this kind of situation, and I'm personally very curious to see where it goes with all the actually like slowly, but all the events moving slowly towards Thomas and actually Ukrainian church receiving recognition.
Hopefully that happens. Let's talk about StopFake.org. How does it work? What's your mechanisms, and how do you dig out the facts that debunk the Russian myths?
Well, it depends the story we work on, but again, so our main challenge and our main mission is to refute all the fakes about Ukraine, which we are able to put our hands on. And we just try to create the most wide picture for the audience of what really happened with the certain story we work on, so so people can actually decide for themselves what they believe in, because we give all the links
and they can analyze.
Yeah. So I think this is actually the most important what journalists can do. Not just tell, okay, this is fake, just believe us because we are journalists, but actually provide all the documents, if it's possible, of course. But I mean, all the documents, all the like original videos, clips, just actually, take the person through the process, show that we took this and then we use this program, and this means that it shows it's fake. But that's what we try to do, and I think that's what can actually bring credibility for the just ordinary audience.
One of the recent articles at StopFake.org is about fighting fakes in Europe, and UK Parliament Committee issued a number of recommendations how to do that. What are they?
Well, this is actually not the first time we see our European colleagues telling about recommendations, and pretty much all of them are common. So it's one of this is actually to bring more responsibility to those platforms who spread sometimes fake news itself, and speaking about Facebook and other platforms, and to make them understanding their responsibility in all this process. But generally, of course, not even about this document, but generally it also speaks about that we should bring more media literacy to schools, and not only to teach people how to
that's the main point. How do we teach people to fish out the fake news out of the whole flow of information they're obtaining?
We actually are working on this in Ukraine. Our StopFake, together with the Minister of Education and a few other partners. And this is something definitely what I think should be done in other countries as well. And I see my colleagues are like understanding this all over the world, that we are having this pilot project with Ukrainian schools now in 4 cities only. and later it will be, if successful, expanded to the whole Ukraine. And the idea is that we are creating this media literacy, critical thinking kind of course for the high school grades. And so kids will be able to basically learn how to understand what media is, what power it has, and how to work on this. But some say that we actually can start even earlier, at least even in kindergarten. So because I think it's really one of the essential things that we need to do now with all the social media, and that every one of us is basically the target of certain disinformation war, and
that's true.
We are one-on-one with our smartphone when it comes from.
Well, clearly Ukraine is not the only country that is fighting in an information war at this moment, because Russia has tried to meddle into the 2016 presidential elections in the United States. There was an information war when hostilities in Georgia occurred, and a lot of other examples. How do other countries fight disinformation, and can we benefit from the example they have?
Well, some countries are at the moment working on the different projects of the law, like France did. So they already adopted it, and there are others. I think Britain now is in process of they propose putting a tax on fakes. I mean, on those who spread fakes. This is definitely one of the... Germany has a law now, so this is something to be considered of. But I think still my favorite is Sweden now, because they've been preparing for their elections in September. And before that, they had at least few discussions with the specialists, what I was part of as well. So what instruments to find and how to fight it. But besides that, they, from what I understand, my colleagues were there for a working trip. So they have this critical thinking part being basically included in all the school subject, not just one separate course. And they also have this brochures culture. So they release these brochures in times of war or in times of distress. So how to, for basically commenting how people can be preparing themselves before this event. So I think Sweden, for example, have this great culture of preparing for the conflict times. And I think that's something we could definitely learn from. But my favorite will be still to see when we will have, the general working agenda, because at the moment we have still this national countries agenda which might work perfectly in a concrete country with concrete people with concrete mentality, but we'll see how it works if you just expand it to the whole region.
Well, I'm sure Ukraine and its people will find a universal tool to fight in this information war and win. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
That was Margo Gontar. She's the co-founder of StopFake.org project. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned with UATV for more.